And approval of the minutes for October 7th. Does anyone have any changes or alterations? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So tonight, new application CC number 25-025, McLean Affiliates, Inc. Applicant and owner for wetland permits to construct 40 new residential units at the existing McLean retirement community with associated improvements that includes a wetland crossing and disturbance in the upland review area at 75 Great Pond Road, Assessor's Map E08, Block 147, Lot 001.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you mentioned, this is CC application number 2525, 75 Great Pond Road. This meeting is for determination of significance at the proposed McLean development. It's just a few high-level slides of McLean is a 110-acre site for senior assisted living. They're proposing to construct approximately 40 new residential units with associated improvements in the regulated area. The upland and direct wetland impacts include an upland review disturbance per the application of about 3.09 acres, a direct wetland disturbance of 0, and indirect wetland disturbance of about 1,300 square feet. And just a list of documents that were included with the application. We had the application form with the site plan showing the regulated area, and proposed ENS controls, a landscape plan, alternative project designs, biological assessment, construction phasing plan, a drainage report, an integrated pest management report, soil compaction mitigation plan, and a wetland impact assessment, as well as other documents included. And just to remind you, there was correspondence that was submitted after the application. They are included in your Dropbox. And the applicant is here for their presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. My name is T.J. Donahue, and together with my colleague Joseph Williams, I have the privilege of representing McLean. For nearly a century, McLean has stood as part of the foundation of Simsbury, not as a developer focused on one-off projects, but as a trusted neighbor and deeply rooted institution committed to Simsbury's long-term future. Founded through the vision and generosity of the late Connecticut Governor and United States Senator George P. McLean, the organization has spent generations caring for older adults while preserving the landscape that make the town a special place to be. The dual commitment, caring for people and safeguarding natural resources, is evidenced in the services McLean provides and is embodied clearly in the McLean Game Refuge. Spanning 4,400 acres in Simsbury, Canton, and Granby, the refuge is among the largest privately protected open spaces in Connecticut. More than 1,100 of those acres are in Simsbury, and the land welcomes thousands of visitors each year. It stands as a living example of Senator McLean's belief that caring for people and caring for nature are responsibilities that go hand in hand. The Meadow Homes project continues the tradition. It is designed to meet a clear and pressing need for high-quality homes that allow older adults to remain close to their families and support networks. At the same time, it will strengthen the tax base, support local jobs, and bring economic vitality to Simsbury. Most importantly for this commission, it has been planned with special attention to wetlands, wildlife habitats, and the character and beauty of the surrounding landscape. As we start, we also want to acknowledge the vital role that this commission has played in shaping the proposal before you. Your careful review of McLean's earlier application and clear guidance you provided have directly informed the plan we begin presenting tonight. It is stronger and better aligned as a result of that process, and we welcome the opportunity to build on that dialogue. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to my colleague Joseph Williams, who will walk you through the details of the revised application and introduce the experts who helped craft it.
Yep.
Slides, the second one that has the kind of colored rendering. They all get one of these.
They did, yes. Yep.
Thank you, Attorney Donahue. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commission members. Nice to see you all again. I'm Joe Williams, partner in the law firm of Shipman and Goodman at One Constitution Plaza in Hartford. I've been practicing land use and environmental law across the state of Connecticut for the past 31 years. And I'd like to start off on behalf of our client McLean, seconding what TJ Donahue said, that we appreciate your diligence and commitment through a long process on our previous application. We know it was. And while we were disappointed that we didn't put forward a proposal that you were comfortable approving, we were glad that in your May decision, as TJ said, you did give us specific direction and recommendations, which we found very helpful and we took to heart. And I hope you'll find that to be the case. Drawing upon its strong commitment to conservation, as TJ explained, and its continued commitment to expanding housing options for seniors in Simsbury, McLean decided to revise its proposal and try again. And that's why we're here before you now. McLean directed its team to go back to the drawing board and design a proposal that could satisfy this commission's concerns while still maintaining a viable project that McLean can build. At the same time, McLean asked Dennis Quinn, you'll remember him, to continue his study and tracking of eastern box turtles on the property in the southern part of the campus. His findings on the turtle's habitat were an important factor in our design process. In fact, Dennis found that the turtles were hibernating and nesting in the area in between the finger wetlands in the middle of the southern part of the property where we had proposed a group of units. So this is a rendering of the currently proposed site plan and where, oh, thank you. Is it a pointer?
Yep.
Great. So I'm speaking of this area here. You'll recall that we had proposed a group of units in that area. And that is, so after we got your decision, McLean asked, as I said, Mr. Quinn to continue his study, and he found that in this very area, generally speaking, is where the eastern box turtle is nesting and hibernating. And so Dennis recommended that all development be moved out of that area, and McLean agreed to do it. So that important design driver, along with McLean's desire to address your concerns with the prior plan, led us to shift units to either side of the wetlands, north and south, thereby maintaining this large undisturbed area in the middle, in between the wetlands, and to reduce the units by 12 from the prior proposal of 52 units to the current proposal of 40 units. Now, we know from the last hearing that the eastern box turtles do not depend on wetlands, but they are an important conservation concern, and McLean is taking care to protect them. So I want to say a few words now about our application, and then when I do that, Tom Daly and Matt Sanford from SLR will give you a brief summary of the work that they've been doing over the last several months and why it shows that there will be no significant impact to wetlands or watercourses under this plan. So we've presented you with a new application that you're receiving tonight. And just want to note what you have from us. I believe everyone has received one of these booklets from us.
We haven't received both.
It's in the Dropbox, so they have an
Oh, okay.
electronic version of it.
Okay, well, they get these too.
No, it's all electronic.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, then there's an electronic version of a booklet like this. There are also hard copies that we submitted that I'm sure are available if they want them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a 67-page
Yes.
document, okay, yep, we got it.
I should say booklet on one of the electronic copies of it. So in that booklet, then it contains the core information that we thought you would find useful. But note that if you're just looking in the booklet for the SLR reports, like the biological assessment and the wetland impact assessment, we gave you executive summaries because of the volume of what goes into this paper version. But the full reports with the appendices are also in your electronic versions that you have, and there are also paper copies on file at Town Hall. So I just wanted to note that and say, if you want additional copies of any of the reports, let us know. We'll be happy to provide them. And at tab 1 of the booklet, you have a letter from me, or you can find it probably separately as a PDF in your electronic file. And that letter summarizes our new proposal and endeavors to provide you with a guide to what's in the application and to the work that we have done to address the findings and recommendations in your May denial resolution. You will see, I believe, when you review the materials, that we have reduced not only the number of units, but also reduce the wetlands crossing to only one crossing from the two crossings that were previously proposed. So we eliminated one crossing and now we're proposing one. And that crossing is designed to avoid any direct impact to Wetland 8. And Tom Daly will explain more about the design of it and how it avoids any such direct impacts. We've also focused a lot of time and effort on avoiding any indirect impacts to Wetland 8 or to any other wetlands or to Hop Brook, including by ensuring the same amount of stormwater continues to reach Wetland 8, avoiding impacts to groundwater flow, mitigating soil compaction, breaking up the site work into additional phases, running all new calculations to confirm that the stormwater management system meets the latest state standards for pollutant removal, carefully controlling fertilizer application with a new integrated pest management plan, and ensuring by additional LID methods that rainwater will continue to infiltrate and recharge the groundwater and the wetlands. And Tom Daly will tell you more about that as well. Our team has also provided, and another one of your recommendations, the team's also provided a detailed and comprehensive wetlands impact assessment and a biological assessment for the entire McLean property. You recall your comment on that last time that it was too limited. And so, as Matt Sanford will explain, the biological assessment inventories all ecological communities, plants, animals, everything on the entire McLean property, not just the development site. And just FYI, Megan Raymond, who you saw on the last application, changed firms. So Matt Sanford, who is also a professional wetland scientist and a registered soil scientist, has stepped into that role for the project, so you'll hear from him. We've also given you a more detailed and complete description of several alternative designs to show you why the current plan is the most feasible and prudent plan that has the least environmental impact to wetlands and watercourses. And I'm going to ask Tom Daly to come up now, and then after Tom and then Matt speak, I just want to briefly address a couple administrative matters. So I'll come back up in a minute. Tom.
Thank you, Joe. For the record, Tom Daly with SLR Consulting. I'm a professional civil engineer, and as Joe indicated, my goal this evening is to give you an overview of the project that allows this commission to make the determinations that they need to do. Can I control the slides, or do you?
No, these are not, this is not a slideshow.
Okay.
Which one do
Just
you
one
want?
second while I'm getting into my slideshow.
It was just pictures.
There was one before the one that was up there.
Got it.
There you go.
Got it.
Before we get into the meadow homes, if you recall to this commission, also a part of the application was a realignment of the front entry drive. If you've been to the campus, it's a bit of a, turn this, turn that to get into the site. That, because of the amount of regulated activities on that, so we have a tiny bit, there's about 20 feet of sidewalk that falls within your upland review area. So that part of the application, it's still part of the application, but a minor part. Next slide. So this is the same slide that Joe was presenting to walk you through the new plan. So from a starting point here, our entry drive into the meadow homes is generally similar to what it was before. As Joe indicated, Dennis Quinn gave us guidance on staying out of this area. That brown area is just simply a walking path through the area. So, but as you come in, if you recall, there was an existing stormwater basin. We've gone back and looked at that basin and taken an opportunity to improve that basin and bring it up to the new 2024 DEP standards. That was built with the Burkholder, so it really didn't have a lot of stormwater features, didn't have that. So we've actually gone back into there. It's actually expanded now. You can see the shape is slightly different, but the goal in there was really to enhance that and bring it into today's standards for stormwater management. As we come into the property here, you'll see four buildings in this location. I do have an overlay in a minute, and I'll show you. That'll be a good representation to show you that. But after that, if you recall, we swung down here and we had two different crossings. Right now, we have a single crossing that comes to the southern part of the property. And I think another really important thing is this crossing is moved almost to the tip of the wetland. It's always preferable to cross a wetland at the high end and leave the remaining portion unencumbered. If you recall, even though the old location had an old farm crossing, by moving this to the north, we worked closely with Dennis Quinn to do that. And even where we moved to the north end, we're crossing at one of the most narrow points of the wetlands. And then as you come into the Meadow Homes here, if you recall, so we're looping the road back on itself and using that same access point. Also part of our planning, we met with the fire marshal very early and reviewed this plan with him, and because we wanted to get that behind us, and we got his support. Stormwater basins are in the same location, except for this basin here. We actually slid up the hill a little bit. We had some slight work within the upland review area here, and we actually slid that so there's no upland review activities. In addition to that, if you recall, we had an emergency access drive that was coming up through here. Now we have is a primary access drive that comes down into a cul-de-sac located here. We've run a fire truck around the cul-de-sac and it works just fine. In this area, we have 4 buildings. If you remember, these are duplex units, so every building represents 2 units. And then this area here, the storm drain is piped down into the stormwater basin as we had shown before. We do have a utility corridor that runs up through here. We expect that utility corridor to also function secondly as a walking path. As part of our application, we have included some additional materials. One, we have included a water balance calculation. If you recall, we had there was some discussion. We actually broke the watersheds for the stormwater or the wetland corridors into 4 segments, and in each segment we showed that we had no net decrease in the amount of volume of water flowing to that. And even though the discussion was really on wetland 8, we did that for this wetland also. And we did that, we achieved that through, we added some rain gardens, we sent some roof leaders there by enhancing this basin. So we showed sequentially all the way down through those 2 wetland corridors at every segment, we have no decrease in volume of water flowing to that area. In addition to that, we also provided plume removal calculations. If you recall, the stormwater manual says if you provide water quality, then you've met the standards. But actually, if you go deep into the stormwater manual, they have all the charts that were used to support that finding. As part of our application, we actually went ahead and did the calculations for our individual site to show that we are meeting the goals of the DEP manual for stormwater removal. Next slide. This is probably a good representation. This is an overlay. So the pink color is the plan that was previously presented to you, and the black and white is the plan as is. So as you can see, the driveway is generally in the same location. This is the area where, as Attorney Williams indicated, that's really the biggest change of this application. All these units were removed out of this central core. We had a wetland crossing here, a wetland crossing here. Those have been eliminated, and now we have a wetland crossing at the tippity, and the wetland itself just starts about 20 or 30 feet north of that. As we came into this area here, it's a fairly similar location alignment, except we loop back on ourselves here instead of crossing the road back over the wetlands. As before, we had an emergency access that was running up through here, but a good portion of the emergency access, it was actually splitting the 2 wetland areas and actually was in much of the upland review area. The new road system, you can see we've stayed out of and haven't split the 2 wetlands and have stayed outside on the perimeter of that wetland corridor and kept it, untouched. Next slide. Maybe you can scroll up a little bit. Sorry.
Okay.
There. So as Joe indicated, this is the upper crossing here. We are as you can see with the green lines, we've picked the location to be essentially the nearest part there. And we are essentially doing a clear span bridge structure to get completely over there. So as you can see, the wetlands here are here. We've set the footings far outside that, and we've done analysis to make sure that the footing excavation had no impact on the wetland. So that's why we're presenting in this application that we have 0 directed wetland impacts, because we're clear spanning the wetlands. It is ultimately a more robust structure than we had presented before, because we're clear spanning more distance here. This will be a system where essentially it's 2 concrete abutments, and they use pre-stressed deck units to go right across there. So, but it's a very robust structure, and as I said, it's clear spanning when we work with that. We also, while we're not presenting here, we're doing additional landscaping plantings. If you remember, we had enhancement plantings. We still have those, but we didn't present it this evening, but we will do that as part of our presentation to you. Next slide. So this is a graphic that shows the areas of upland review activity that are under your peer review. The colors are not necessarily anything special. It was just allowing us to do some accounting, so you as a commission could really understand the different areas. So as if you come in at the top is this red area, that's essentially, that activity is simply just removing an existing garage that exists there and restoring it to lawn. And we have the cyan color here is the driveway coming up. The purple here, that's the upland review activity located on the south side of wetland 8. And then we have a yellow area here, which is the upland review area of just the tail end of this wetland, when I believe it turns into more of a intermittent water course. Next slide. And then also part of your application package, you'll see that there is a robust phasing plan. The previous application essentially had 2 phases, 1 and 2. You now have on your plan 6 phases, with including very detailed information on how much disturbance it can occur before you can move into the next phase. You'll see in these charts, when you get the plans, they show that you basically have to substantially finish the work before you can move on to the next phase. But there's still an understanding that there might be some lawn areas that you still have to close up before you get the final CO. And then we provided, once again, some detailed notes here that talk about stabilization, what that means, and that all aligns with the stormwater manual. But as I indicated, previous application had 2 phases, basically fairly straightforward. This one, we worked closely with a contractor to develop a plan that works. And typically the way the phases work is you get the infrastructure in, you get the roads in, you get the drainage in, and then you start working on the home sites. And then you kind of close up behind yourself and everything. And that's why you're seeing the roads are falling somewhat in their independent phases, because that road construction can be done independently. And then you don't start doing earthwork associated with the building pad sites until later. And that allows us to really compress the amount of disturbed area at any time. With that, I'm going to hand over to Matt to talk about the wetlands. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, it's Matt Sanford. I'm a senior professional wetland scientist as well as a registered soil scientist and ecologist. I think for tonight's presentation, I'm going to divvy up my discussion topics into 2 buckets. First bucket related to the conservation issues. Second bucket related to the inland wetland and watercourse issues. So when we look at the conservation issues, I think the first thing I'd like to point out is that we have completed a detailed biological assessment, which you have before you. That biological assessment looked at the entire property, did not just focus in on the wetlands and our watercourses, but looked at the uplands associated with the property as well. So in relation to that, we've gone ahead and identified the different communities that are within the property based on vegetation, based on age class of the trees, etc. So you have some very detailed information on those habitats and communities that are out there. In addition to that, we completed detailed fauna inventories on the site. So you will see lists of the avian species of birds that have been found on site. You'll see lists of the mammalian species that have been observed on the site. You'll see lists of both reptiles and amphibians that have been observed on site. And lastly, you'll see that we have a detailed flora survey that's been completed on site, again during the months of the summer and early fall. And you'll see that comprehensive list as part of that biological assessment. So I do encourage the commission to look at that assessment. The second component of the conservation, which has been discussed already this evening by Mr. Williams and Mr. Daly, was the special concern species eastern box turtle. And so working with Dennis Quinn, one of the leading herpetologists in the state of Connecticut, reviewing his data with him, he actually tracked turtles on the site over the summer, and looking at where those critical habitats were specifically for the hibernation. In concert with him, developing a development plan that protects those species of special concern. The plan that you will be reviewing before you over the next course of the next couple of weeks, you will see that we have provided that protection, that best management practices for that species. So those are the conservation issues that I think that this commission will have to review and understand in order to make a just decision on the project. The second bucket is our inland wetlands and watercourse bucket. We have provided a very detailed wetland impact assessment. So again, I encourage the commission to review that assessment. As Mr. Daly has pointed out, there's been some significant changes to the plans that you've seen under previous applications before this commission. Most notably is moving the crossing to the north, or I should say to the west, along the actual golf course itself, eliminating the two crossings that have been presented before this commission in the past. You will notice that we have crossed the wetland 8 in an area that is relatively narrow. You may say as you look at this graphic, well, it's not as narrow as maybe the previous crossings, but it is in an area that protects that field and those turtles. So there had to be some balance in protecting the field and moving the wetland crossing to a different location. But again, we are moving that wetland crossing to a area that is relatively narrow. As has been presented earlier in the testimony, the actual direct wetland impacts are 0. And some may say, well, how can it be 0? When we look at direct wetland impacts, we look at whether or not we're actually touching the soil in the wetland, right? Are we excavating the soil? Are we filling the soil with fill in the wetland? And based on the proposed crossing structure that we have here, all of that work in order to actually install that crossing does not require disturbance of the soil in the wetland. So I think that's important to point out. Will there be clearing of vegetation in the wetland? Yes. This particular portion of the wetland does have some trees. What the plan is to actually cut those trees flush and leave the stumps and roots in place. Those stumps and roots will be underneath the structure permanently and will provide wildlife habitat for the future as critters move up and down and under this particular structure. So I think that's important to note. Indirect impact is the clearing of the vegetation, roughly just under 1,400 square feet. I believe it's actually 1,374 square feet. Again, we have to provide that impact because it is indirect and requires clearing of vegetation. In addition to that, as Mr. Daly had pointed out, we've done an extensive hydrologic analysis for wetland 8. This is wetland 8 right here. There was concerns, I think, under previous applications about potential impacts to the hydrological regime within the wetland based on proposed development. Our water drainage engineers have done a robust job of analyzing various points actually along wetland 8. So much more extensive than what had been done previously. And as Mr. Daly had pointed out, we actually are not changing the water volume to this particular wetland, which means that we'd have no hydrologic regime impacts to the wetland. Again, that's important for the commission to note. So, based on no direct wetland impacts, based on really limited indirect impacts, based on no significant hydrologic regime impacts, in my professional opinion, the plan that is before this commission will have no adverse impacts to the wetlands and watercourses on this project. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And with that, I think that concludes my part of the presentation. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Williams to finish up.
All right. With regard to a public hearing, this is the administrative matter I wanted to touch on. Yeah, I know you have on your agenda tonight a determination of significance, as you call it, and I realize that's how you often decide whether to hold a public hearing on an application. I just wanted to make a note on this. And we realize and sympathize that it might feel early for you to make a decision about impacts from this application, given that we filed all this material 2 weeks ago, and it's a lot for you to review and digest. I sent you a letter yesterday just to remind you that procedurally there are actually, in the wetlands law and in your regulations, there are 3 separate legal bases for holding a public hearing on a wetlands application. Number 1, the commission determines the activity may have a significant impact on wetlands. Number 2, you receive a petition signed by 25 people requesting a hearing. Or number 3, the commission finds that a public hearing regarding the application would be in the public interest. So under the third grounds, you can simply make a motion to hold a public hearing because it's in the public interest. And McLean agrees that it's in the public interest for the commission to hold a hearing and allow the public to comment on this application. So if you go that route, then you do not need to determine, for now anyway, if there is a significant impact to wetlands for purposes of holding a public hearing. If you do decide on whether the new plan may have a significant impact on wetlands, then I submit to you that it will not. From everything we've submitted to you and the summary you heard tonight, the plans and reports that we have filed show you that we have removed any direct or substantial indirect adverse impacts to inland wetlands or watercourses in this application. But again, it's not necessary for you to decide that question right now to hold a public hearing. The commission may simply decide under section 9(1)(c) of your regulations that it would be in the public interest to hold a public hearing, and then let's get it on the calendar. And then the other administrative thing I wanted to note was I realize you may discuss or decide tonight about hiring a third-party peer review, and McLean has no objection to you hiring an independent third-party peer review firm. I just want to note similarly that under the town code provision, the decision point is whether it's a, quote, large and complex project for which the town requires additional technical assistance to review the application. So that's not a question of significant impact on wetlands. It's just a question of, is the project large and complex enough that you would like some technical assistance? And those are different standards and they should not be conflated. So I just wanted to make that point. And if you want to hire a peer review firm, we hope you'll make that decision tonight just so we can get it going and get the firm selected and everybody has time to see their input and recommendations. That's all from us. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes.
So on the proposal, one thing that I might have missed, but in the previous proposal, there was about 16, 17 acres woods that were gonna be cut down, and then some of the meadow that was gonna be taken up, used for this project. What are those prospects now in this new?
Well, if this is what you mean, we've taken all development activity out of this area that was the meadow and forest here. And some of it has been moved over here where we were not proposing units before. Some of them are in this area where we already were proposing units. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
So how much of the forest will be taken down?
Oh, you mean the size, the acreage?
Correct.
I don't know if we have that off the top of, or if we need to bring that. We'll get
I think
it.
it's 19.8.
Right, it's not dramatically different. It may even be a little bit more because of going into this area with this road in terms of forest, not in terms of the wetlands or the upland review area, but it may be a bit more of total disturbed area because of that.
And for the meadow, did that shrink or with?
Do you mean, where do you mean that? You mean this part of the meadow or this part of the meadow?
Yeah, so now that that ring is no longer gonna be disturbed, are you keeping more of the meadow and taking a little bit more of the forest?
I don't know precisely off the top of my head. Let me get you that. We'll do the calculation.
3 acres. 3 acres of that.
No, we can't have input from the audience, there's no public audience.
I'm sure we can easily get that, but I wanna be accurate for you, so we'll do that.
Appreciate it.
So we are now in a position of looking forward to determining whether this is a project of significance, unless you have more questions to ask. Yeah.
Well, I think I was gonna question back to the staff. So in the past, I can't remember a case when we haven't determined the significance at this part of the process. So if we, there's a lot to absorb here and it was good to get the summary. What happens if we push the determination of significance to the next meeting?
Right, so for after receipt of an application, you have 65 days to schedule a public hearing. So that meaning you have 65 days if you wanna determine this application significant.
Now, do we have to determine that before we, based on 991.c, we could still have that scheduled?
So you can make a determination to hold a public hearing without a finding of significance.
Right.
But it has been practice to find significance at the time of receipt. That's up to you.
But I guess the question I'm asking is usually the determination of significance is a little more clear cut. This particular project's quite large, even though we're not touching at this time some of the upland review areas. So if we were,
Yeah, or the wetlands, there's still some upland to do.
Yeah, there's a little bit, but we're not touching directly the wetlands. So the question is if we were to take the option of asking for a public hearing, but then waiting for that to some of that next discussion to decide whether we believe it's significant or not, how does that affect the process in our
Well, remember what the finding of significant does. It elevates the review and vetting process, particularly as it relates to feasible and prudent alternatives. Right, if it's an application where you don't find it significant, the applicant is not charged with demonstrating feasible and prudent alternatives, among other things. So that's particularly the threshold.
Right, but we could determine it was significant at the next meeting and still be at that threshold.
So you mean if we schedule a public hearing
Yeah.
without determining significance, but you do it in the public interest?
We take that option and then we determine after a better review of what's in front of us, whether we believe it's significant or not.
So let's think about the projects that we have determined as non-significant turn out to be post holes and decks and, rather small things. This is multi-acres. I mean, it is adjacent to a wetland. There is, tree removal and all the rest. So in the past, we have declared large projects like this. Possibly, there is a possibility of some impact.
Yeah, like the motion is like may have a
May have, it doesn't mean that there
which
is going to be.
Yeah, no,
So the significant doesn't have to be that, but the projects that we've declared as non-significant are usually rather small, limited.
I completely.
To answer Charles' question is that no, you do not have to find significance tonight.
Okay.
We would recommend you set a public hearing tonight.
Yes.
For the ability to staff to grab venues and alert the public and that kind of thing.
Alright, so if we, okay.
The rest is up to you.
So, at what point do we have to determine significance after the public, during, I mean, that gets interesting.
Within that 65-day window?
I think you're right, Marjorie, that it should be, it may be significant. Right? So I
We don't
think,
know at this point, yes, I mean, we have, you know,
And I wanna be clear that I wasn't arguing whether it is or isn't, I was trying to understand the
When
impact
we
on the
have-
procedure.
yes. when
Because
we-
because we've never done that before.
correct.
But our, you know, if we're going by precedent, and which we do a lot of times,
We do, yeah.
then this would definitely fall under the significant category. Just due to the size and the complexity of what's going on, even though, you know, it's a significant modification we had in the past. But I never heard that as being an option, that's why I was zeroing in.
I was, I agree with you, Charles.
It is, just as it hadn't been your practice, that's all.
This is what we do and then we move forward.
Right, so that's why I found it kind of interesting.
So does anyone have a problem with declaring having a motion of significance on this project?
I would be fine doing that. My question would be on the motion for the third party.
That we should,
Is that something we want to trigger that we didn't have at our fingertips last time?
yeah, and that was a problem last time.
Yeah.
And
So we would recommend that you deal with the question of significance first, and then have a conversation about
Could we,
third party review.
could we determine that at the next meeting, separately,
Which,
the third party?
so we're gonna strongly recommend you make that decision tonight. Remember, we these applications all work within a state codified timeline, and you know, for efficiency's sake, it'll be, you know, if you direct us to find third party peer review, we're gonna wanna work on that tomorrow.
And also, we do have a constraint that the Board of Selectmen has to approve.
Yeah, right, so it's a
And
complex
calendar
application and
issues.
therefore the way we would recommend, of course, so we can move on to that. If you do direct staff, if you do find that you want third party review, because we don't have the technical ability on the wetlands and the engineering side, which is really the criteria. We have on-call, we've worked to develop on-call engineering firms and wetlands firms. We would provide you with a minimum of 2 proposals, scope and cost, from 2 on-call engineering and wetlands firms. That under the town code, you are charged with selecting. You would select, we would go to the Board of Selectmen and ask them to approve essentially the dollar, which the applicant pays. And then we would go forward. And then again, the peer review would require a period of time, that's why any kind of public hearing, we would recommend in the December timeframe. Just not enough time to get that review done for you.
So the question tonight is whether we I mean, it is a large project, do we want to go with motion of significance or motion of non-significance?
Motion of significance.
Yeah, I would say the significance.
Alright, so do we have a motion for significance?
I will make my first motion
Oh,
on the
very good.
commission. This is a big day, I'm trying not to mess this up with a public audience here. Move the Inland Wetland and Watercourse Agency determines application CC 25-25 of McLean Affiliates Inc. 75 Great Pond Road may have a significant impact on wetland and watercourses.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, now we will move on to the next one, consideration of a large and complex project status, and third party review. Now, we did not have that last time and I think we could have used it. So,
And we were proactive on that side this time, right?
yes, yeah.
Sure.
So do we have any discussion as to, any objections to having a third party review? Do we?
I think we should definitely have a third party review.
Yeah, and the applicant said that they are okay with that, so I think
Alright,
I also think that provides a different professional perspective, which I think is gonna be important as opposed to
I think it's good for us, it's good for the public, it's good for the applicant.
Yes, it's good all the way around, so.
All right, do we have a motion to for the third party review?
So moved.
Do you wanna make the motion?
I would love it if you would read the motion.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Move the Inland Wetland and Watercourse Agency finds that application CC 252575 Great Pond Road, McLean Affiliates Inc. meets the criteria for large and complex under section 85.6.1 of the town code and therefore requires services of a qualified third party soil and wetland scientist and professional engineer to conduct an independent review of application CC 25-5 Great Pond Road, McLean Affiliates Incorporated. Staff at their discretion is directed to develop a scope and solicit proposals from town on-call engineering and wetland consultants for selection by the agency.
All right, do we have a second? All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
So just to follow on, just what we would do is we would need to schedule a special meeting sometime between now and November 10 for the Board of Selectmen meet next to review the proposal and make selection.
But another question, when will you be sharing what you think the scope is before you put it out because you're gonna be asking for bids on the scope?
Yes,
So you're gonna share that with the committee before you put that out?
if you'd like me to share with you, sure.
I do because I think there's some questions that we talked about in terms of sort of construction inspection, et cetera. And the net effect on the wetlands afterwards that we talked about at the last time. You know, we talked a lot about the plans are great, but how do you know that the assumptions that you made are good? And I think that would, and that's like how do you inspect for issues? It'd be good to have somebody address that.
Happy to send that to you.
Yeah.
All right, which gets us down to the issue of the public hearing, and we had a public hearing last time, there's certainly a lot of public interest in this. So
And the applicant did not object
and the applicant does not
public hearing.
object, I think this is a reasonable way to go. Would someone like to make a motion for a public hearing?
I'll make the motion. Move to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency shall schedule a public hearing on application CC 25-25 of McLean's Affiliates Incorporated, 75 Great Pond Road for December 16th, 2025 at the Public Library of Simsbury, 7 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The short.
Good move out of the rookie.
Been a long one.
Good move out of the rookie.
First one is the hardest.
That's right. A lot of eyes out there.
So, moving on to public hearing action on applications. So designated agent actions. Sorry. Alright, designated agent actions. So
This may go
moving,
I know.
so moving on to Conservation Commission business. Last night, Brittany and I attended the zoning commission and the zoning commission voted unanimously to approve the regulations for the dark sky.
Awesome.
The dark sky regulations, so thank you very much, Brittany, for
Thank you.
shepherding this through.
It was a long time coming,
Yeah.
but it happened.
And yeah, it was nice, it was unanimous, they seemed excited about it.
Yep.
And George, you say that if no one objects in 2 weeks, that's it.
Oh, yeah, it'll be effective for 15 days from
Yeah.
publication, so just like
That's good. So we did our bit. So we need to think about what else we need to do. It'd be nice to talk to planning and to zoning about invasive plants and or native plants in their design review. If we could have a meeting with them or another presentation to them about the importance of native plants in because right now they're approving lovely plans that are not necessarily what we're discussing, you know. We're encouraging native plants, but I don't know that it's getting through to zoning. So
Whenever you want.
anytime they're ready to have another presentation, they
Yeah, that's a
just
good
keep
idea.
going.
Yep.
Yeah. If anyone else can think of anything else we need to discuss with zoning, that.
So just to that effect, zoning commission selected the firm FHI out of West Hartford to as the consultant for the comprehensive zoning update and rewrite, which will take place over the next 18 months. So we'll be looking at the entire zoning code for changes and updates and revisions.
So if you
It's essentially never really been done in
oh good.
decades and decades and
So
decades.
if staff could identify some of the areas we think would be helpful, that would be lovely. And also if any applications come before zoning that have a planting plan, if you could encourage them to send it our way, or at least make us knowledgeable about when these plans are coming up so that we can submit comments even if they're unsolicited.
We'd be happy to have that conversation with the zoning commission.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, any other? There are some, Kakiwik is coming up. In November, I think that is the what is it, what's Kakiwik? Conservation Commissions and Inland Wetlands Agencies.
I've lost
It's a
track.
statewide
Yes,
agency.
It's a
It's
statewide
statewide.
agency.
It's yeah, it's terrible and acronym.
It's a Saturday, do you know what's
It's
Saturday?
It is.
It's an all day,
It's an all day.
Lots of speakers, lots of different sessions, it's well worth attending.
We will pay for the registration if anyone wants to attend.
So
Do you know which Saturday it is? I'm sorry.
November,
The 8th, okay.
I think was it I thought it was the
I thought it
next
was the
week.
week after,
Yeah.
because I can't make it,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
I could want me to
She can
resend that email?
yeah, resend it.
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Who else is anybody else going?
15th is.
Marjorie's going.
I couldn't make it the last time, so I'm gonna try to go.
It's November 15th.
November 15th, okay, I
And
think I'm actually back.
2 or 3 days before that, UConn is having their native plant and pollinator conference, which is good.
It's right in the middle of the week though, right?
It's the middle of Thursday, they
Yeah.
always do it in the middle of the week. So I will be attending that one too, I'll be conferenced out. And then on the following week, I will be attending the Park and Rec annual Connecticut conference, the Park and Rec thing, and doing a workshop in invasive plants. Tom Taberski asked me if I'd do that and he'd sign me up for a workshop.
Great.
So that's that. And then did anyone watch the charter review committee where they were discussing Conservation Commission?
Yes,
Yes,
I
you
did.
did. All right. So it was interesting.
Yes, thanks for that, that was
Yeah.
very, I wanna listen to the whole thing, I don't know why, but I found it, I was doing other things, but
Right.
I was just listening, I'm like,
And fortunately, the Charter Review Committee this is old news, they were doing this back in September, but they did decide that the Conservation Commission does not need to be an elected position, and also it doesn't need to be rolled into another commission. We're already rolled into the conservation, the inland wetlands already rolled into the Conservation Commission, but there had been concern that we're not accountable to the town or accountable to the voters. So but it was decided that no, we were fine the way we were. And they did have questions about how many of us have the certification necessary for the inland wetlands. So I encouraged the members, the commissioners, to take the DEEP course. So if you could send that link out again.
I will.
And again, DEEP does not specify how many times you have to take
Nope,
that course.
no,
So-
and it's just, they don't specify the number of times.
So, but I mean, to be fair, it's not a requirement under state law that inland wetland commissioners take that class. It's, we recommend that you do,
Yes,
it's not, you know.
I believe
it's-
at least one
Uh,
has to, and a designated agent has to.
Yes.
except for the section on logging, all the rest of it's very worthwhile.
But I mean, how often do you recommend people retake it? I mean, cause there's a lot of details
They
in
don't
it.
change it very often.
I know, but I mean,
You don't change it very often.
I've taken it a couple times and I always find it interesting and I feel like I remember something new every time.
Okay.
Every couple of years.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a section on jurisdiction and like
Yeah.
things like that, and
Yeah.
that's interesting,
And we don't-
especially when you have new scenarios that come up and you kind of see it differently.
Yeah, and it's all online now, so you just
Yeah,
register.
yep, and you could do it on your own time.
Yeah.
Used to be a Saturday in some part, strange part of the state.
Yeah.
And now it's just
All-
video online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now that's much easier, but it also strengthens our credibility.
Yes.
So I would encourage all of us to take it. So that's all I have. Oh, except for Nod Road is coming maybe at some point. There's a possible solar.
So.
That was gonna be my one question.
So the 140
Is that
Nod
gonna be
Road,
in
the
this
Nod
thing?
Road solar project, which was introduced to town leadership a month or two ago.
Where is 140?
It's the old golf course and Frisbee Place and
Okay.
It's the riverside
collective,
part of the property,
not-
right?
not
No, it's
both
across the
sides.
street.
Okay.
It's the Frisbee golf side.
Okay.
So you're staring at the clubhouse, it's
To the left.
largely to the left, it's about 30 acres.
Doesn't that site get shaded at some point during the day?
I think as it rises the hill, it looks exactly to the west where it's
Not to the east.
optimal for them.
Okay.
Anyway, so the company's called Lodestar, they have not filed an application with the state of Connecticut Siting Council. Solar projects are not reviewed locally by any land use review agency. But staff prepared a letter under my signature that recommended and essentially invited them to come talk to the Conservation Commission and other land use commissions for input and not oversight necessarily, but for input. What I thought would make sense would be once they file a formal application. Although I could, reach out, it might be good to maybe because you're gonna be busy as you get into the first of the year, maybe for your November meeting. Maybe we do it before they even file. That's not a bad, it just occurred to me that you're gonna get busy.
And it was the letter was great. Thank you very much for writing that.
That's kind of you.
Lovely letter. And I encourage everyone to read it because there's a lot of information.
Happy to share the letter with
Yeah,
everybody
that
too.
would be good if you could
Yeah,
send
that-
that to us.
But maybe that's what, let me reach out to them and see, I mean, they've done this a lot, they will never say no, they will always come. They may not give you the answers that you're looking for, but they will always interact, groups like this, in my experience.
And then the other thing that will be coming before us is the soccer field, the Curtis Park soccer field.
Well, if eventually if that project moves forward, yeah, I mean, it's a significant improvement to the Curtis Park fields, particularly on the east side of, I don't think they plan to touch the west side, in fact, of Terriffill Road, all on the east. Turf fields and all those kinds of things, so that will absolutely require a wetlands permitting process. But I don't know, I know the town signed a memorandum of understanding with them, do not know the status of plans or their timeline on planning process.
Who are they?
Simsbury
Simsbury
Soccer
Soccer Club.
Oh, Simsbury Soccer Club,
Oh, they own that property?
they do not,
Okay,
It's town property.
they do not, that makes it more complicated, they
okay,
they
I
have
thought it was
been,
town
they have been a long-term tenant,
okay.
almost sole tenant of that property, and so the town has entered into a kind of a long-term agreement with them for use of that property, whether it's improved or not.
when they have a long-term agreement like that, is anyone else allowed to use the fields at all or no?
I don't know what the language of the agreement says, but it's, it's kind of right of first refusal. It's programmed for them primarily. And as it has been for at least a decade or so now.
As a coach for Simsbury soccer for like 12 seasons, would I have to recuse myself of that?
Let's have that discussion when we get closer to that.
Does anyone have any other conservation issues that they'd like to?
But probably, Jason, probably.
And if you do want hard copies of any of the McLean applications, sorry, I didn't provide them tonight, just let me know. And
It's so nice to have a hard.
Yeah, we
I
had-
know,
we
and we
did
had
have
them,
those.
and I wasn't, I didn't.
Forgot about that.
No,
They're in a
but
box.
it's still hard to look at them on the, I mean,
But it's hard to make, and we can't make, the
No.
biological assessment is 180
No,
pages.
no, we don't need that, but it's just nice, the maps are lovely to look at. Although you can zoom in on the other ones, but I do remember the Meadowood thing way back, decades ago, when we ended up with, that was too much. This is fine. All right, anything else tonight? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings, and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions, and it's no secret people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth, and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government come together.